Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Michael had asked me to welcome everyone and give some brief comments, so I wanted to make sure I do it right, and so I didn't want to mess it up. So I made a couple notes so I don't forget. Especially in the very beginning, you want to really nail your presentation. I'd like to thank C for this distinguished award that I received. Wait, that's the wrong presentation. Sorry, I got a little bit ahead of myself. So good morning. Hope everyone got a good night rest. I wanted to talk about some of the things that I've experienced and what I'm seeing. I had a chance to talk about it yesterday in the panel discussion and share with you some thoughts. But I just thought it would be a good time to share with you some things that I'm seeing in the supply chain. If you could go to the next slide. Aerospace is different. I've grown up with it my whole life. As a little kid, I remember working at a hard-inch chucker and cranking that wheel back and forth. And then later on, I was making deliveries to ITT Aerospace when it was down in Burbank, California. And it's provided me a way of life, and I'm very passionate about the aerospace industry. I started with W Machine Works in 1995, actually, after I had just graduated from college. So I've been doing this almost 15 years now. And I've seen an amazing amount of change just in the last 2 years, I would say. But aerospace is different. It's changed a lot. It's evolved, I think. And some of the things that we're seeing, one of the biggest change, like any good change or like any change in general, it comes from the top. And what we're seeing is this 80-20 rule, this 80-20 idea, where back in the day, not long ago, aerospace companies, they produced 80% of their goods internally, and they outsourced 20%. And now that's completely reversed, where now they're actually producing 20%, and in some cases even less, and they're outsourcing almost everything. And so that big change and that shift is what's really driving a lot of the changes that we're seeing in aerospace. One of the things that we see right now is lean. Lean is everywhere. Lean isn't new. I see a lot of great companies or people representing their companies here today. And I know a lot of you guys are extremely lean. And lean it hasn't been around. It's not new. But today, all of a sudden, there's a greater emphasis on lean. Now, customers are actually grading us on lean. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but we've actually been audited and had lean audits from our customers. So lean is everywhere. Lean is here to stay. Lean is a way of life. And now, not only does it help you become profitable, but you're actually being graded and judged on your lean improvements. So, boy, I would really encourage everyone here to really consider lean. And next, again, because of this idea going back to, again, the 80-20 rule and that shift, we're seeing a greater emphasis on supply chain management. Where before, all I had to be good at was cutting metal. That's all I had to be good at. Not anymore. Now I got to be good at contract management. I got to be good at supply chain management. So there's a lot of different competencies we as a company and as an industry need to develop. So supply chain management now becomes something I need to learn and understand. And then as you start to develop on your own, your own supply chain, and you start to worry about your own supply chain, well, now you have to understand risk management. Risk management is a big deal in aerospace. And you'll see in AS9100 when it rolls to Rev C, that's a big emphasis. Risk management. How are you managing your risk? Again, back in the day, all we had to do was cut metal and get, the customer would deliver the metal. I'd cut it and give it back to them and let them worry about it. Those days are gone. Now I, as a machine shop, a company of 60 employees, now I got to understand risk. Financial risk. We talked about that yesterday. Financial risk. How are we measuring our suppliers' financial risk? Operational risk. Where are the errors, or where are the problems going to arise? Geopolitical risk. We'll talk about increased globalization. Not only are we competing globally, but now our partners are global. You look at the 787, right? My customer ships parts to Italy, and then Italy assembles it, and they come all the way back again. So now that those are my partners. We ship parts to Turkey. We ship parts to the Netherlands. So not only are we competing globally, but those are now becoming our partners. So there's a lot of risk there as well. And then, of course, nobody in the room has heard of ITAR, right? And DFARS. The compliance challenge. Again, gone are the days where I can cut metal. Now that it's been flowed down to me, you have to understand the ITAR. It's this thick, maybe even thicker. JP, how big is it? It's pretty bit thick. You don't want to read the whole thing, exactly. So now you have to understand DFAR and ITARs, and then you have to flow that down to your supply chain. So the aerospace is very different today, and it's evolved, and it's just become the new reality. Next slide. So like any change, what has to happen? We need to have a culture change. Our companies need to change. One of the things that's great about C is that it has a process for culture change. Leadership and culture is one of the tracks in the C roadmap, and it's a very powerful model on how to change culture. It starts from the top, like anything. It has to come from the top. But you have the 5 processes. You have strategic planning, leadership and operational excellence, leadership communication, workforce development, continuous improvement. Right? It has a great model for how to create change in your own organization. Because organizations, we as the supply chain to our aerospace, we have got to change. It's absolutely mandatory. And we have to develop new competencies, right? Contract management, supply chain management, engineering. I'm learning from all of you guys. I'm just amazed at some of the talent that we see in these conferences. We're going to hear some great speakers today and seeing what they're doing in these areas. Engineering, right? We want partnerships now. We talked about that yesterday. Frank talked about the partnerships. Right? They don't want to just hand stuff over to us. They want help. We need to help them with some of the engineering as well. So the companies now, we have to develop new competencies is what I'm seeing across the aerospace supply chain. Next slide. So in the spirit of partnership, this new and improved supply chain has to exist. We have to develop this new supply chain. We talked about it yesterday in the Supplier Advisory Council, that C is a great process roadmap for improving your own company. But it's going to start to evolve, and it needs to evolve to supply chains. We're just not a group of suppliers that are high-performing suppliers, but we need to evolve to we are a supply chain. And it's our supply chain competing against the world's supply chains. So we need to see ourselves not just isolated, but we need to see ourselves as a crucial key part of the supply chain, where every member is now critical. Just like a powerful chain, every member counts. And there needs to be a spirit of increased cooperation, where you have multiple areas of the company working together, where it's not just myself talking to Warren Fox or to Frank, but it's really our teams getting together. One of the things that we've done in the SCMG, which is a Southern California manufacturing group, is not only our owners working together, but now we have our managers working together, where we have a team that's in charge of supply chain development. We have a team working on sales and marketing. We have a team working on workforce development. So this is a new spirit of cooperation where we're not hiding anymore, but we're actually inviting people to come see our shops, to encourage people to share with them what's working in our own company so we can share with others. Mapping the process. Again, we're all lean organizations. We need to not only map the processes internally, but we need to map the processes in the supply chain. Right? We're going to learn all today about supply chain. It's crucial for our success if we want to keep manufacturing in the U.S. And then increase two-way communication. Right? One of the things that we talked about, we had a supply chain event for the SCMG where we invited our suppliers. And we said, not only do we want to tell you how you're performing, but why don't you tell us how we're performing? Because we have a role in the supply chain, and we need to know not only what we need to reflect and tell you guys how you're doing, but you guys need to tell us how we're doing, because we need to understand that we're part of this problem as well, and we need to improve. So we're trying to ask the right questions. We're asking different questions. We're asking tougher questions, to be honest. Next slide. So hopefully, if we start to think of things as supply chains rather than isolated silos, where I only care about W Machine Works, but I'm looking at the entire supply chain. Hopefully, the goal is more projects delivered on time, within budget, We talked about affordability yesterday, and that's one of the things that's really driving aerospace is affordability. And complying to requirements. Again, it's not just about making a product, but it's understanding that the ITARs and the DFARs and understanding all the requirements to go. And then ultimately, we, as a global supply chain, we want to gain more market share. That's really the end goal. Last slide, I think. I found this quote, and I thought it was a great quote. It's from Ian Stopps, Chief Executive of Lockheed Martin. He says, "I'm certain that one thing in particular will play an increasing important role in aerospace: partnerships. We must encourage innovation across industry, and we must be prepared to accept and share risk. Any prime contractor is only as good as its supply chain, and each member in that supply chain is as important as the last." We really need to start seeing ourselves as an integrated supply chain and not just isolated silos. So have a great conference. We have some great speakers coming up. Network together, and let's enjoy the time. And I'll see you guys all during the day. Thank you.